You know that feeling when your thoughts won't stop racing? When you're lying in bed at night and your mind keeps jumping from one worry to the next. You tell yourself to just relax, but the harder you try, the louder it gets. I know that exhaustion, the mental fatigue that comes from carrying the weight of every possible outcome in your head, the frustration of wanting peace but not knowing how to find it. Here's what nobody tells you about your anxious mind. It's not broken. It's not defective. It's just tired from working overtime to keep you safe. Your brain has been running like a security system that never turns off. It scans for problems, predicts disasters, and tries to solve everything before it happens. But somewhere along the way, that protection system got stuck on high alert. Now it treats every small worry like a 5-alarm fire. The racing thoughts, the constant what-ifs, the mental loops that never end, they're all symptoms of a mind that doesn't know how to rest. And the reason traditional advice doesn't work is because it treats the symptoms instead of the source. When people say, just think positive, or stop worrying so much, they don't understand that your anxious mind isn't choosing these thoughts. These thoughts are happening to you not because of you. But here's the truth that changes everything. You can teach your mind how to be quiet again. Not by fighting it, not by forcing it, but by understanding what it really needs. Your anxious mind needs to feel safe. It needs to know that it doesn't have to solve every problem right now. It needs permission to stop scanning for danger and start trusting that you can handle whatever comes. Think about the last time you felt truly calm. Really calm, not just distracted or temporarily busy. You probably can't remember, can you? That's because your mind hasn't felt genuinely safe in so long that peace feels foreign. But that calm is still there inside you. It's underneath all the noise, waiting. You don't have to create it, you just have to uncover it. Every technique I'll share with you works because it addresses what your anxious mind actually needs: safety, understanding, and the space to finally rest. You've been fighting this battle long enough. It's time to learn how to win it, not by overpowering your anxiety, but by making friends with your mind again. The stories your anxiety tells every day. Every morning when you wake up, before you're even fully conscious, your anxious mind starts telling stories. Stories about what could go wrong today. Stories about what you should be worried about. Stories that feel so real you forget they're just stories. These aren't random thoughts. They're carefully crafted narratives that your anxiety has been perfecting for years. And the scariest part? They sound so logical, so reasonable that you believe them without question. You're not prepared for that meeting. They didn't text back because they're mad at you. If you make a mistake, everyone will judge you. Something bad is about to happen. These stories feel like facts because they come with emotional evidence. Your heart races when you think about the meeting, so the story must be true. Your stomach knots when you imagine social rejection, so that prediction must be accurate. But here's what anxiety doesn't want you to know. These stories are fiction. They're worst-case scenario movies playing in your head, and you've been watching them so long you think they're documentaries. The story your anxiety tells most often is the story of inadequacy. No matter what you accomplish, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how well things go, anxiety whispers the same tale. You're not enough. You're not ready. You can't handle this. This story has been on repeat for so long that you've memorized every line. You know exactly how it goes. First, it points out everything that could go wrong. Then it reminds you of past failures. Finally, it concludes that you're doomed to repeat those failures forever. But what if I told you that every anxious story follows the same basic plot? What if I showed you that once you understand the structure, you can see through the illusion? Every anxiety story has 3 acts. Act 1, something triggers a worry. Act 2, your mind imagines the worst possible outcome. Act 3, you feel like you can't handle it. I have to give a presentation becomes, I'll mess up and everyone will think I'm incompetent becomes, I can't do this. They haven't replied to my text becomes, they're ignoring me because they hate me becomes, I'm going to be alone forever. The formula is always the same. Trigger plus catastrophic thinking plus feelings of helplessness. Once you see this pattern, something amazing happens. You start to notice these stories forming before they take over. You catch them in Act 1 before they get to the dramatic ending. When you notice the story beginning, you can pause and ask, is this a fact or is this anxiety talking? 9 times out of 10, it's anxiety spinning fiction. The most powerful question you can ask your anxious mind is What evidence do I actually have for this story? Not feelings, not assumptions, not past experiences, but real, concrete evidence happening right now. Usually there isn't any. The meeting isn't until next week. Your friend hasn't replied to your text, but it's only been an hour. You haven't made a mistake yet. When you separate anxiety stories from actual reality, you discover something liberating. Most of what you worry about exists only in your imagination. And imagination, no matter how vivid, cannot hurt you. Your anxious mind is like a novelist who only writes horror stories. It's incredibly creative, exceptionally detailed, and completely committed to making you believe every word. But once you remember that it's fiction, you can choose whether or not to keep reading. Why fighting your anxiety makes it stronger. There's a moment when anxiety hits that every anxious person knows. That moment when you feel your chest tighten, your thoughts start spinning, and panic begins to rise. And your first instinct is always the same: fight it. Stop these thoughts, push this feeling away. Get rid of this anxiety right now. It's the most natural response in the world. When something hurts, you want it gone. When something scares you, you want to fight it. But here's the cruel irony about anxiety. The more you fight it, the stronger it becomes. Fighting anxiety is like being caught in quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. The more you resist, the more it persists. Every effort to push it away proves to your brain that there really is something to be afraid of. When you tell yourself, "I shouldn't be anxious about this," your brain hears, "There's definitely something wrong here that needs my attention." When you try to force yourself to calm down, your nervous system interprets that as, "We're under attack and need to defend ourselves." The fight makes anxiety stronger because it feeds on resistance. Anxiety needs your fear to survive, and what is fighting anxiety but the ultimate act of fearing it? Think about the last time you had an intrusive thought. Maybe you worried about something embarrassing you said, or imagined something bad happening to someone you love. What did you do? You probably tried to shove that thought away, told yourself not to think about it, maybe even got angry at yourself for having the thought in the first place. How did that work? The thought came back stronger, didn't it? It came back more vivid, more convincing, more disturbing than before. That's because when you fight a thought, you're actually giving it more mental energy. You're making it more important, more significant, more worthy of your attention. The war against anxiety cannot be won through battle. It can only be won through surrender. Not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind that means accepting what is without trying to change it. When anxiety shows up, instead of bracing for battle, what if you just said, "Oh, anxiety, there you are. I see you. I feel you. You can stay for a while if you need to." This isn't about liking anxiety or wanting it around. It's about refusing to waste your energy fighting something that feeds on fight. It's about recognizing that acceptance doesn't mean defeat, it means freedom. The moment you stop fighting anxiety, it loses its power over you. Not because it disappears, but because you're no longer afraid of it. And when you're not afraid of your anxiety, anxiety has nothing to work with. This is counterintuitive, I know. Everything in you wants to fight, to resist, to make the discomfort go away. But consider this: you've been fighting anxiety for years. How has that worked out? Has the fighting made you calmer or more anxious? Has the resistance brought you peace or more turmoil? If fighting worked, you wouldn't be here looking for answers. The fact that you're still struggling means it's time to try a different approach. Acceptance doesn't happen overnight. Your first instinct will still be to fight. That's normal. That's human. But each time you catch yourself fighting and choose acceptance instead, you weaken anxiety's hold on you. Start small. The next time you feel a flutter of worry, instead of immediately trying to fix it or reason it away, just notice it. Say to yourself, "I'm having an anxious thought right now, and that's okay." Don't judge it, don't analyze it, don't try to make it go away, just let it be there. You'll be amazed at how quickly anxiety loses its intensity when you stop feeding it with resistance. It's like a fire that needs oxygen to burn. Take away the oxygen of your opposition, and the fire naturally dies down. The 60-second reset that works every time. When anxiety hits hard and your mind starts racing, you need something that works immediately. Not a long meditation, not a complex technique, but something simple and fast that you can use anywhere, anytime. This is that technique. I call it the 60-second reset, and it works because it interrupts the anxiety cycle at its most vulnerable point. The moment when your body is preparing to panic but hasn't fully committed yet. Here's how it works. The moment you notice anxiety building, you have about 60 seconds before it fully takes over your nervous system. In those 60 seconds, you can either let anxiety drive the bus, or you can take back control. The technique has 3 parts, each lasting about 20 seconds. 20 seconds to ground your body, 20 seconds to slow your mind, and 20 seconds to remind yourself of the truth. Step 1 is called Feel Your Feet. For 20 seconds, focus all your attention on feeling your feet touching the ground. If you're sitting, feel your feet in your shoes. If you're standing, feel the pressure of your body weight. If you're lying down, feel your feet against the bed. This isn't about relaxation, it's about location. Anxiety lives in your head in imagined futures and replayed pasts. Your feet live right here, right now. When you connect with your feet, you connect with the present moment, and anxiety cannot exist in the present moment. Step 2 is called Count Your Breath. For 20 seconds, count your breaths backwards from 10. 10 on the inhale, 9 on the exhale, 8 on the inhale, 7 on the exhale, all the way down to 1. If you lose count, start over. If your mind wanders, start over. This gives your racing mind something specific to focus on. Instead of spinning out of control, it has a simple job to do. And because you're counting backwards, it requires just enough concentration to break the anxiety loop. Step 3 is called State the Facts. For 20 seconds, remind yourself of what's actually true right now. I am safe in this moment. This feeling will pass. I have handled difficult things before. I am stronger than this anxiety. This step rewrites the story anxiety is trying to tell. Instead of everything is terrible and I can't handle it, you're reminding yourself of reality. This is uncomfortable, but I am okay. The entire technique takes 60 seconds. That's it. 1 minute to interrupt anxiety's takeover attempt and remind your nervous system that it's safe to calm down. The beauty of the 60-second reset is that it doesn't require perfect conditions. You can do it in a meeting, on a train, in bed at night, or anywhere else anxiety tries to ambush you. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. No one even needs to know you're doing it. But here's the key. You have to use it the moment you notice anxiety building, not after it's already taken over. If you wait until you're in full panic mode, it's like trying to stop a runaway train with your bare hands. Possible, but much harder. The goal isn't to make anxiety disappear completely. The goal is to keep it from escalating into overwhelm. Think of it as turning down the volume, not changing the channel. Some people worry that this technique is too simple to work. How can 60 seconds fix something I've struggled with for years? But simplicity is the point. When anxiety hits, you don't need complexity, you need clarity. You need something so simple you can remember it even when your mind is spinning. Try it right now, even if you're not feeling anxious. Practice when you're calm so it's available when you're not. Feel your feet for 20 seconds. Count your breath backwards from 10. State the facts about this moment. Notice how different you feel after 60 seconds of intentional focus. Your nervous system responds almost immediately to clear direction. It wants to calm down, it just needs to know how. The 60-second reset works because it gives your body and mind exactly what they need in the moment anxiety strikes. Grounding, focus, and truth. It's not magic, it's just smart psychology applied in real time. Use it every time anxiety tries to hijack your peace. Use it until it becomes automatic. Use it until your mind learns that anxiety doesn't get to be in charge anymore. How to build unshakable inner calm. Calm isn't something you find outside yourself. It's something you build inside yourself, one small choice at a time. And the strongest kind of calm isn't the absence of storms, it's the presence of peace even when the storms come. Most people think calm is a feeling that either comes or it doesn't. Like happiness or sadness, it just shows up randomly. But that's not how real calm works. Real calm is a skill. It's something you develop through practice, like learning to play piano or speak a new language. The difference between people who seem naturally calm and people who struggle with anxiety isn't that one group never feels stress. It's that calm people have built mental and emotional habits that help them return to peace quickly when stress appears. Building unshakable inner calm starts with understanding what calm actually is. It's not the absence of thoughts or feelings. It's not being relaxed all the time. It's not avoiding challenges or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Real calm is the ability to stay centered no matter what's happening around you or inside you. It's knowing that you can handle whatever comes without losing your balance. It's trusting yourself enough to remain steady even when life gets chaotic. This kind of calm is built on three foundations: self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-trust. Self-awareness means noticing what's happening in your mind and body without immediately trying to fix it. It's the ability to observe your thoughts and feelings like a curious scientist rather than getting swept away by them. When you're self-aware, you can feel anxiety rising and think, "Oh, there's anxiety," instead of, "Oh no, I'm anxious." That small shift in perspective creates space between you and the feeling, and in that space, calm can grow. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend who was struggling. It's refusing to add mental abuse to whatever challenge you're already facing. When you're self-compassionate, you can make a mistake without calling yourself an idiot. You can feel anxious without calling yourself weak. You can have a bad day without deciding you're a bad person. Self-trust means believing in your ability to handle whatever life brings. It's knowing that even if something difficult happens, even if you don't handle it perfectly, you'll figure it out as you go. When you trust yourself, you don't need to control every outcome because you know you can adapt to any outcome. You don't need to predict every problem because you know you can solve problems as they arise. These three foundations support each other. The more aware you become, the more compassionate you can be. The more compassionate you are, the more you trust yourself. The more you trust yourself, the more aware and compassionate you become. Building these foundations doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't take years either. You can start strengthening them today with simple daily practices. For self-awareness, spend 5 minutes each morning just noticing how you feel without trying to change anything. Not judging, not fixing, just noticing. I feel tired today. I feel worried about that meeting. I feel excited about this weekend. Awareness without agenda. For self-compassion, change how you talk to yourself when things don't go well. Instead of "I'm so stupid," try "that was a mistake, but everyone makes mistakes." Instead of "I can't do anything right," try "this is hard, but I'm doing my best." For self-trust, keep a small record of things you've handled before. Every challenge you've overcome, every difficult emotion you've survived, every problem you've solved. When anxiety tries to convince you that you can't handle something, you have evidence that says otherwise. The beautiful thing about building inner calm is that each small step makes the next step easier. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, compassion over criticism, trust over fear, you're building mental muscle memory. Your nervous system learns that it's safe to be calm. Your mind learns that peace is possible even in imperfect circumstances. Your body learns to relax instead of staying constantly alert for danger. This isn't about becoming a perfectly zen person who never feels stress. It's about becoming someone who returns to calm quickly when stress appears. Someone who doesn't add mental suffering to life's natural challenges. Someone who knows that no matter what happens, they'll be okay. That kind of unshakable calm becomes your superpower. It allows you to think clearly when others panic. It helps you make good decisions under pressure. It lets you be fully present for the people you love instead of being lost in worry about what might happen. Start building your calm today. Choose one small practice and commit to it for a week. Notice how different you feel when you stop fighting your inner world and start befriending it instead. The simple shift that stops overthinking. Overthinking is like having a computer with too many programs running at once. Everything slows down, nothing works efficiently, and eventually the whole system crashes. But unlike a computer, you can't just restart your brain when it gets overloaded. Or can you? The truth is, you can stop overthinking, but not by trying to think your way out of it. You stop overthinking by learning to redirect your mental energy from analysis to action, from loops to lines, from spiraling to solving. Most overthinkers believe they're being productive when they're stuck in mental loops. They think that by analyzing every possible angle, considering every potential outcome, and examining every detail, they're preparing themselves for success. But overthinking isn't preparation. It's procrastination disguised as productivity. It's your brain's way of avoiding taking action by convincing itself that it needs to think more first. The difference between helpful thinking and harmful overthinking is simple. Helpful thinking leads to clarity and action, while overthinking leads to confusion and paralysis. When you think helpfully about a problem, you gather the information you need, consider your options, make a decision, and move forward. The process has a beginning, middle, and end. When you overthink a problem, you gather the same information repeatedly, consider the same options endlessly, avoid making a decision, and stay stuck. The process loops back on itself infinitely. The shift that stops overthinking is surprisingly simple. You change your relationship with uncertainty. Most overthinking comes from trying to be absolutely certain about uncertain situations. You want to guarantee the outcome before you take action. But here's what overthinkers never realize. Certainty is an illusion. There are no guarantees in life. You cannot think your way to 100% certainty about anything. The more you try, the more anxious and stuck you become. The alternative isn't reckless action without any thought. It's comfortable action despite incomplete information. It's making good decisions with the information you have rather than perfect decisions with information you'll never have. This shift happens when you start asking different questions. Instead of "what if this goes wrong?" you ask, "what can I learn if this doesn't go as planned?" Instead of "how can I be sure this will work?" you ask, "what's the smallest step I can take to find out?" Instead of trying to solve entire problems in your head, you solve them through small experiments in real life. Instead of preparing for every possible scenario, you build confidence in your ability to handle whatever scenario actually happens. The antidote to overthinking is what I call productive uncertainty. It's being okay with not knowing everything while still moving forward anyway. It's trusting that clarity comes through action, not through analysis. When you catch yourself overthinking, ask this simple question: what's the next smallest step I can take? Not the whole solution, just the next small step. Then take that step before your mind has time to spiral into analysis mode. If you're overthinking a difficult conversation, the next small step might be writing down the main point you want to communicate. If you're overthinking a career decision, it might be updating your resume or having one informational interview. If you're overthinking a relationship issue, it might be sending one honest text. The step doesn't have to solve everything, it just has to move you forward slightly. Each small action breaks the overthinking cycle because it gives your brain real information to work with instead of imaginary scenarios. It shifts you from theoretical planning to practical problem solving. The goal isn't to stop thinking altogether. Thinking is useful when it serves a purpose. The goal is to think productively rather than destructively, purposefully rather than habitually. Set a timer for your thinking. Give yourself 10 minutes to consider a problem, then take some kind of action, even if it's small. This prevents thinking from becoming an endless loop and ensures it stays focused and productive. Remember, your best thinking often happens when you're not trying to think at all. Solutions come in the shower, during walks, while doing dishes. That's because your subconscious mind is incredibly good at solving problems when your conscious mind stops interfering. The beautiful truth about stopping overthinking is that you don't lose anything valuable. You don't make worse decisions by thinking less. In fact, you often make better decisions because you're not paralyzed by analysis and second-guessing. You gain energy, time, and peace of mind. You become someone who moves through challenges instead of getting stuck in them. You learn to trust your judgment instead of questioning every choice to death. Your mind is powerful enough to solve any problem you face, but only when you stop using it to create problems that don't exist. The moment you choose action over analysis, forward motion over mental loops, you reclaim your power from overthinking. How to handle any anxious moment like a pro. Anxiety doesn't make appointments. It doesn't wait for convenient times or warn you it's coming. It shows up in the middle of important meetings, during family dinners, while you're driving, or when you're trying to sleep. And when it hits, you need to know how to handle it like someone who's in control. The difference between people who seem to handle anxiety effortlessly and those who get overwhelmed isn't that some people never feel anxious. It's that some people have learned to meet anxiety with skill instead of panic. When anxiety hits most people, their first reaction is surprise, then resistance, then overwhelm. Why am I feeling this now? I need to make this stop. I can't handle this right now. But when anxiety hits someone who knows how to handle it, their reaction is recognition, then acceptance, then strategic response. Ah, there's anxiety. It's okay that it's here. Let me use my tools. The first step in handling any anxious moment like a pro is to stop being surprised by anxiety. Anxiety is a normal part of being human. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you or that you're handling life poorly. It's just information from your nervous system. When you stop being surprised by anxiety, you stop adding the extra layer of anxiety about being anxious. You move straight into problem-solving mode instead of getting stuck in "why is this happening?" mode. The second step is to give anxiety a job. Anxiety is energy, and energy needs direction. If you try to suppress it or ignore it, it builds pressure. But if you channel it into something useful, it becomes a tool instead of a problem. You can channel anxiety into focus. This nervous energy means this is important to me, so I'm going to use it to pay extra attention. You can channel it into preparation. This anxiety is telling me to be ready, so I'm going to use it to review my notes one more time. You can even channel it into compassion. This anxiety reminds me that everyone feels nervous sometimes, so I'm going to use it to be kinder to the other nervous people around me. The third step is to remember that anxiety has a beginning, middle, and end. It feels like it will last forever, but it won't. Even the most intense anxiety episode will peak and then naturally decrease if you don't fight it or feed it. Professional anxiety handlers know this, so they don't waste energy trying to make anxiety end faster. They just ride it out with as much grace as possible, knowing that "this too shall pass" isn't just a nice saying, it's a biological reality. The fourth step is to stay connected to your values while anxiety is present. Anxiety wants to make every decision based on avoiding discomfort. But you can feel anxious and still choose to act according to what matters to you. If you value honesty, you can feel anxious about a difficult conversation and still tell the truth. If you value growth, you can feel anxious about a new challenge and still say yes. If you value connection, you can feel anxious in social situations and still show up for people. Your values become your compass when anxiety is trying to steer you off course. The fifth step is to practice self-compassion in the moment. Anxiety often comes with a side of self-criticism. "I shouldn't be feeling this way, I should be stronger. Everyone else handles this better than I do." But beating yourself up for being anxious is like punching yourself for having a headache. It adds suffering without solving anything. Instead, talk to yourself like you would talk to a good friend who was struggling. "This is really hard right now. It's okay that you're feeling anxious. You're doing the best you can. You've gotten through difficult things before, and you'll get through this too." The final step is to take one small, meaningful action despite the anxiety. This is how you prove to your nervous system that anxiety doesn't have to control your choices. You can feel the feeling and still do what needs to be done. The action doesn't have to be big or brave. It just has to be in the direction of what matters to you. Send the text, make the call, show up to the meeting, have the conversation, take the next small step. Each time you act with anxiety instead of being paralyzed by it, you build evidence that you can handle whatever life brings. You become someone who feels fear and moves forward anyway. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming skillful. It's about meeting anxiety with tools instead of terror, with strategy instead of struggle. The more you practice handling anxious moments with skill, the less power anxiety has over your life. It becomes something you experience rather than something that controls you. And that shift changes everything. Creating a life that naturally supports calm. Some environments create anxiety and others create calm. Some routines feed worry and others feed peace. Some relationships increase your stress and others increase your sense of safety. If you want lasting calm, you need to design a life that naturally supports it. This isn't about creating a perfect, stress-free bubble around yourself. Life will always have challenges, unexpected problems, and difficult moments. But you can structure your daily life in ways that make anxiety less likely and calm more natural. Think of it like tending a garden. You can't control the weather, but you can choose what to plant, when to water, and how to prepare the soil. You create conditions where the things you want can flourish and the things you don't want struggle to take root. The first element of a calm-supporting life is rhythm. Your nervous system craves predictability. When your days have some structure and flow, your mind doesn't have to constantly figure out what's happening next. It can relax into the rhythm instead of staying alert for surprises. This doesn't mean rigid scheduling or boring routines. It means having some consistent anchors in your day that your nervous system can count on. Maybe it's the same morning routine, the same bedtime, the same way you transition from work to personal time. These consistent elements become like handholds for your mind. When everything else feels chaotic, These familiar rhythms remind your nervous system that it's safe to settle down. The second element is boundaries. Calm people aren't people who never face stress. They're people who don't absorb everyone else's stress on top of their own. They've learned to say no to things that drain their energy and yes to things that restore it. Boundaries with your time mean not saying yes to every request just because someone asks. Boundaries with your energy mean not trying to solve everyone else's problems. Boundaries with your attention mean not consuming news, social media, or drama that leaves you feeling agitated. Boundaries aren't walls that keep people out. They're filters that let in what serves you and keep out what harms you. They're how you protect your peace without isolating yourself from life. The third element is nourishment. Not just food, though that matters too, but all the ways you feed your mind, body, and spirit. Calm people regularly do things that restore them rather than just things that drain them. This might be time in nature, creative activities, physical movement, meaningful conversations, learning something new, or simply quiet moments alone. The specific activities matter less than the fact that they genuinely feed your soul rather than just distracting you from your problems. Many people fill their free time with activities that numb stress rather than activities that actually reduce it. There's a difference between distraction and restoration. Distraction temporarily masks anxiety, but restoration actually builds resilience against it. The fourth element is connection. Not just social connection, though that's important, but connection to yourself, to your values, to what gives your life meaning and purpose. When you're connected to what matters most to you, daily stresses don't feel as overwhelming because they're happening within the context of a meaningful life. You can handle difficult moments better when you remember why they're worth handling. This connection comes from regularly asking yourself what you actually care about, not what you think you should care about. It comes from making choices based on your own values rather than other people's expectations. The fifth element is flexibility. Calm people plan, but they don't cling to their plans. They have preferences, but they're not devastated when things don't go their way. They've learned to bend without breaking. Flexibility doesn't mean being passive or having no standards. It means being able to adapt when life doesn't match your expectations. It means having Plan B thinking built into your approach to challenges. When you build flexibility into your life, you stress less about controlling outcomes and focus more on responding skillfully to whatever outcomes actually happen. The final element is recovery. Just like your body needs rest after physical exertion, your mind needs downtime after mental and emotional exertion. Calm people build recovery time into their lives instead of running on empty until they crash. Recovery might look like a few minutes of deep breathing between meetings, a walk after a stressful day, a weekend morning with no agenda, or a vacation that actually feels restful rather than packed with activities. The goal isn't to eliminate all stress from your life. The goal is to create a foundation of calm that can handle whatever stress comes your way. When your default state is peaceful, you can weather storms without losing your center. Start small, choose one element and make one small change this week. Notice how that change affects your overall sense of calm. Then add another small change and another. Over time, these small changes compound into a life that naturally supports peace instead of accidentally creating anxiety. You become someone who feels calm not because nothing difficult ever happens, but because you've created conditions where calm can thrive despite the difficulties. The daily practices that keep your mind quiet. Peace isn't a destination you reach once and stay at forever. It's a practice you return to daily, like brushing your teeth or eating meals. The people who seem naturally calm aren't lucky, they're consistent. They have daily practices that keep their minds quiet. These aren't complicated practices that require hours of time or perfect conditions. They're simple, practical habits that work in real life with real schedules and real responsibilities. But their simplicity doesn't make them less powerful. In fact, it makes them more powerful because you can actually stick with them. The first practice is the 2-minute morning reset. Before you check your phone, read the news, or start tackling your to-do list, you give yourself 2 minutes to set your internal tone for the day. Sit on the edge of your bed or stand by your window. Take 5 deep breaths. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel today? Not what do you want to accomplish or what problems need solving, but how do you want to feel? Maybe you want to feel grounded or peaceful or confident or compassionate. Hold that intention in your mind for a moment. This isn't magical thinking, it's intentional thinking. You're choosing your mental direction before the day chooses it for you. The second practice is anxiety spotting. Throughout your day, notice when anxiety first appears before it builds into overwhelm. Think of it like checking the weather. You're not trying to control it, just staying aware of current conditions. When you spot anxiety early, you can use your tools before you need them desperately. It's much easier to redirect a thought that's just beginning than to calm a mind that's already spiraling. The third practice is the three-breath transition. Every time you move from one activity to another, take 3 conscious breaths. Between meetings, before meals, when you come home from work, when you get in your car. These tiny transitions prevent stress from accumulating throughout your day. Instead of carrying the energy of one activity into the next, you reset your nervous system with 3 simple breaths. The fourth practice is evening emotional hygiene. Just like you wash the dirt from your body at the end of the day, you can wash the emotional residue from your mind. Before bed, ask yourself, what am I carrying from today that doesn't serve me? Maybe it's worry about tomorrow, frustration from a difficult conversation, or disappointment about something that didn't go well. Acknowledge these feelings without judgment, then consciously choose to set them down. You can pick them up tomorrow if they still need your attention, but right now, you're going to rest. The fifth practice is weekly worry time. Instead of worrying randomly throughout the week whenever anxiety strikes, schedule 15 minutes once a week for focused worrying. Write down your worries, look at them objectively. Ask which ones you can actually do something about and which ones are outside your control. Make a plan for the actionable ones, release the others. This practice teaches your brain that worry has a time and place, and that time and place is not every moment of every day. The sixth practice is daily gratitude, but not the kind you've probably heard before. This isn't about forcing yourself to be grateful for things you don't actually appreciate. It's about noticing what's already working in your life. Each day, notice 3 things that went smoothly that you didn't have to worry about, that just worked without drama. Your car started, your coffee tasted good, a friend texted you, your body carried you through the day. This trains your brain to notice what's going right instead of only focusing on what's going wrong. It's not about denying problems, it's about balancing your perspective. The final practice is the Sunday mind maintenance. Once a week, spend 15 minutes checking in with your mental and emotional state, like a weekly maintenance check for your car. How has your anxiety been lately? What's been triggering stress? Which tools have been working well? What do you need more of in the coming week? How can you better support your peace of mind? This prevents small problems from becoming big ones and helps you stay proactive about your mental health instead of just reactive. None of these practices require perfect execution. You don't have to do them all perfectly every day to benefit from them. Even doing them imperfectly most of the time will make a significant difference in your daily experience of calm. The key is consistency over intensity. A small practice you do regularly is infinitely more valuable than an elaborate practice you do once and then abandon. Choose the practices that feel most doable for your life right now. Start with just one and do it for a week. When it starts feeling natural, add another one. Build slowly but steadily. These practices work because they give your mind regular opportunities to remember peace throughout the day. Instead of only paying attention to your mental state when it's already disturbed, you're creating regular check-ins that maintain calm before it's lost. Your anxious mind isn't your enemy, but it does need guidance. These daily practices are how you provide that guidance, gently and consistently, until a quiet mind becomes your natural state. Living free from the prison of anxiety. There comes a moment in every person's journey with anxiety when they realize they have a choice. They can continue living as a prisoner of their own mind, or they can choose freedom. Not freedom from ever feeling anxious, but freedom from being controlled by anxiety. This freedom isn't something you achieve once and keep forever. It's something you choose again and again, moment by moment, thought by thought, breath by breath. It's the ongoing decision to live as the author of your life rather than anxiety's victim. Living free from anxiety's prison doesn't mean you never feel fear, worry, or stress. It means you feel these emotions without being trapped by them. You experience them as passing weather instead of permanent conditions. The prison of anxiety is built from 3 walls: the belief that anxiety is dangerous, the belief that you can't handle it, and the belief that you're powerless to change it. Freedom comes from dismantling these walls one by one. The first wall falls when you realize that anxiety, while uncomfortable, is not dangerous. It's your body's alarm system, and sometimes alarm systems go off when there's no real emergency. The alarm is loud and startling, but it can't actually hurt you. When you stop being afraid of anxiety itself, you stop feeding it the fear that keeps it alive. You can feel your heart racing and think, "My body is having an anxiety response," instead of, "Something terrible is happening to me." The second wall falls when you build evidence that you can handle anxiety. Every time you feel anxious and don't fall apart, every time you take action despite fear, every time you use your tools successfully, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your anxiety. This evidence accumulates over time until you have an unshakable knowing. I may feel anxious sometimes, but anxiety doesn't control my life anymore. The third wall falls when you realize that you have more power over your mental state than you ever imagined. You can't control whether anxious thoughts appear, but you can control how much attention you give them. You can't stop feelings from arising, but you can choose how you respond to them. This power doesn't come from fighting or forcing. It comes from skill, from practice, from understanding how your mind works and learning to work with it instead of against it. Living free from anxiety's prison means you wake up each morning knowing that whatever the day brings, you can handle it. Not perfectly, not without effort, but skillfully and with confidence in your resilience. It means you can feel nervous about a presentation and give it anyway. You can worry about a difficult conversation and have it anyway. You can feel uncertain about a decision and make it anyway. Your feelings become information instead of instructions. Your thoughts become suggestions instead of commands. Your anxiety becomes a visitor instead of a dictator. This freedom transforms every area of your life. You take risks you wouldn't have taken before because you're no longer paralyzed by the possibility of failure. You speak up for yourself because you're no longer terrified of conflict. You pursue opportunities because you're no longer convinced you can't handle them. You become more present in your relationships because you're not constantly distracted by mental chatter. You enjoy simple pleasures because you're not always bracing for future problems. You sleep better because you're not rehearsing tomorrow's worries. Most importantly, you like yourself more. You stop judging yourself for being human, for having feelings, for not being perfect. You develop genuine self-compassion that doesn't depend on external circumstances. The journey to this freedom isn't always linear. There will be days when anxiety feels stronger than your tools. There will be moments when you forget everything you've learned and fall back into old patterns. This doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. Progress isn't about never having setbacks. It's about recovering from setbacks faster and more skillfully each time. It's about the overall trajectory of your life moving toward greater peace and freedom. Remember where you started this journey. Remember how powerless anxiety once made you feel. Look at how far you've already come just by learning that there are tools to help, that you're not broken, that change is possible. Every technique you've learned, every moment of awareness you've cultivated, every small choice you've made toward calm instead of chaos has been building toward this moment. The moment when you truly believe in your own freedom. You are not your anxiety. You are not your racing thoughts. You are not your worried feelings. You are the awareness that observes all of these things, and that awareness is vast, peaceful, and unshakable. Your anxious mind has been trying to protect you for years, but protection turned into prison. Now you know how to thank your mind for its concern while choosing a different way to live. The prison door has been open all along. You just needed to learn how to see it, how to walk through it, and how to trust that freedom is not only possible, it's your birthright. Take that first step into freedom, and then take another, and another. Your life of peace is waiting for you on the other side of fear. You have everything you need to quiet your anxious mind. Not once in a while when conditions are perfect, but every time anxiety tries to take control. Your mind is ready to rest, it's time to let it.